Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for Mr. Klinger and General Shelton. I'm holding a piece of paper, a document, that my staff informs me is being used by United Launch Alliance competitors to claim that ULA's evolved expendable launch vehicle single launch costs have more than tripled. Mr. Klinger and General Shelton, do you agree with how this information is being used, and can you describe the vast requirements that United Launch Alliance must meet, and how and why the block buy supported the reduction of costs?
Sir, I would tell you that information is not being used correctly. I would tell you that it's an extrapolation of 2012 data up through 2030. It doesn't give us any credit for the block buy approach. It doesn't give us any credit for the introduction of competition. It doesn't give us any credit for the remarkable success record that we've seen with this program. It just tries to paint a picture of one versus another, and it is literally apples and oranges from my viewpoint.
Mr. Klinger, do you have anything to add?
Yes, sir. In addition to echoing General Shelton's comments, I'd offer the following thoughts. One has to place the EELV program's development against the backdrop of the environment in which we're operating. Put bluntly, when we started this program in the late 90s, we made a series of assumptions, both mainly about the development of a large commercial demand that the U.S. government was going to take advantage of and therefore defray a lot of our costs. And that is why the original cost for the EELV boosters was set at a level that was much lower than our current costs. But the reality is the following. Virtually every assumption we made about the world that would come to be realized at the start of the program has not come to pass. Effectively, the bottom fell out of the commercial space launch market with the collapse of the internet boom, because a number of commercial ventures that would have placed a large number of satellites into orbit and therefore required a large number of boosters never happened. Therefore, the larger burden associated with EELV costs was therefore transferred to the government. I don't believe that the context in which that information is being used is accurate. I would offer the following point. As my colleagues have mentioned, that we are all in favor of competition. Here's one example where, had we had competition earlier, that cost increase, though contextually inaccurate, probably would have been mitigated, because there would have been a greater incentive first for Lockheed Martin, then Boeing, and subsequently United Launch Alliance to streamline their operations and find reasons to cut costs. In fact, I think we're reaping the benefits of the impending competition right now when you look at the new contract that the Air Force has signed with the government about the 36 cores.
If I could have a follow-up question that's similar to the first one, and this one's for General Shelton, Mr. Klinger, and Mr. Lovarro. The Air Force has signed a contract with the United Launch Alliance for a block buy of 36 rocket cores over 5 years. This was a new approach rather than buying on an ad hoc as-needed basis. Can you tell how this approach came about and what the benefits are? How much money has the taxpayer saved as a result of the block buy, and what would be the risk of breaking the contract?
Let me go at these in reverse order. The risk would be significant, sir, because we would have to do a significant amount of work, engineering work probably, to get payloads onto a different kind of booster. The other risk that would be significant would be cost. There would undoubtedly be much greater cost per booster in the program because, again, we don't have economic order quantities assigned to that current provider, the only currently certified provider. It came about because all those things were in place. We had one certified provider. We needed to give the industrial base some certainty on the business base. So that's the approach that was taken. And as I said earlier to the chairman, it was all about cost effectiveness.
Do the other gentlemen have anything to add?
I'd offer, in addition to echoing General Shelton's points, I think one measures cost not only in dollar value, but in this case, from an acquisition perspective, in the adverse impact on the industrial base. I don't think one can overstate the importance of the benefits that that block buy provides to a sector of our space industrial base that was at best on unsteady footing. And I'm not talking about the prime contractors here. As General Shelton mentioned, it's the second and third tier suppliers who supply components and subsystems for ULA boosters that are in a much better condition than they otherwise would have been had we not had the block buy. I think the short answer to what would happen if we had to break that contract, we don't know what it would ultimately cost. We know that it's in excess of, at least in excess of $370 million. We don't know the exact figure, but what we do know is that, as General Shelton also mentioned, we would simply have to probably go back and negotiate on a mission-by-mission basis for launch services. And our experience, as you know, our experience with that from a cost standpoint has not been good.
The chair now recognizes Mr. Lang.